The cloud is growing every year, and I believe it's going to be one of the biggest transformational technology innovations in history. So in today's video, I'm going to be looking at the benefits of the cloud, why the cloud is going to continue to grow in the future, and then also the stocks that could be big winners in the cloud space and could have outsized gains in the future. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So first of all, what is cloud computing? So everything that we do online does require data, whether this is for social media, shopping, or simply browsing the internet. And all of this data does need to be processed and stored somewhere in the back end by the host website. Now, to do this, the data is processed through servers, and if the company is to run their own servers, then this will cost them a fair bit of money in the form of physical space for these servers, as well as energy to run them and repair and maintenance costs. So files and programs stored in the cloud can be accessed anywhere by any user on the service, eliminating the need for users to always be near the physical hardware. And all that's needed to access the cloud is an internet connection. So cloud computing can be used for software, which avoids the hassle of hardware installation and management. It also can be used for platforms that allow web application development and deployment, and then also entire company infrastructure like data storage, servers, and hardware. So cloud computing is changing the way that businesses manage their data because it allows a company to essentially outsource their servers to another company. And there are currently three main players in the cloud computing sector at the moment, and these are Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. So Amazon Web Services, or AWS, has a 33% market share right now. Microsoft Azure has a 21% market share, and then Google Cloud Platform does have a 10% market share. And then finally, cloud services can be public or private. So public clouds are obviously publicly offered infrastructures that are owned by third-party entities that are openly available to anyone. So think of Gmail as an example. Anyone can use Gmail, and it's used by millions of different people across the world, whether these are individuals or businesses. And then private clouds are exclusive to a specific company and allows IT infrastructure to be outsourced and located wherever the cloud provider's data center is, rather than being on premises in the location of the user's headquarters. So now let's look at the main benefits of cloud computing. So first of all, startup or just small companies in general can save a lot of money through outsourcing their server provider, meaning that they can simply use the resources of a third party, saving them a lot of money and hassle. Now, this is often a much better approach for smaller companies compared to having to dedicate money and time to building their own server rooms and associated IT expertise that would need to come with this in order to make sure that the server works properly, as well as provide maintenance for it. So imagine you are a company that experiences peak traffic during a certain time of the day or the week, and therefore has a relatively inconsistent server requirement over time. So rather than having to build a in-house server that's big enough to accommodate the busiest times of the year, and is therefore much bigger than they need for the majority of the time during the year, they can simply pool their resources with other companies using a third-party provider, and by doing this, the company only has to pay for the capacity that they use and consume, meaning that they can get the peak server capacity when they need it, but they don't have to pay for it all the time. Dedicated cloud computing providers can also benefit from optimal geographical locations for their data centers, benefiting from cheaper land, energy, and also labor costs to run and maintain the data centers. Now, companies in some of the most expensive cities in the world, like New York and London, would alternatively suffer from the higher land and labor costs in their home city if they tried to build their own in-house data centers. And this is obviously going to cost them a lot more money than going to a third party who can source it for a lot cheaper. And also, some of the world's biggest and most advanced tech companies are the main cloud computing players at the moment. So offering their services to companies with lots of sensitive data, including big banks like JP Morgan, means that a lot of these companies feel more comfortable with their data in the hands of these giant companies. And in many cases, if a company does move their servers to a third party, then they are probably in safer hands actually with these big tech companies compared to having their own in-house IT team as the expertise in the in-house team probably don't match the giant tech companies that are currently running the outsourced servers. And then on top of this, server outages are quite rare for these main players, but when there is an outage, you can almost guarantee that the servers will be back up quite shortly, overall offering a better reliability compared to any in-house server operation that could happen. So now let's look at the growth that cloud computing is experiencing. So the global cloud computing market size is expected to grow from $445 billion in 2021 to $947 billion by 2026, which is a compound annual growth rate of 16.3%. Now, the retail and consumer goods vertical is expected to grow at the highest rate during this period. So the three biggest players in the cloud computing space, which I mentioned earlier, were Amazon, Microsoft and Google, all had promising 2022 Q1 earnings in regards to their cloud growth. So Microsoft were the highest growers out of all the three companies, with 46% growth year over year. Google experienced a 44% growth, and meanwhile Amazon did have a 37% growth for this quarter, which is still pretty good, to be honest, considering that they are the market leader right now. And then the total addressable market for cloud computing is absolutely massive, and it basically covers every single company that are operating on the internet right now. Now, almost all businesses operate on the internet nowadays, and certainly all of the biggest companies do. So realistically, cloud computing could touch every single corner of the internet, offering massive potential for those companies currently dominating the space. Many of the largest global companies across the world have already made the switch to cloud servers, as it's a lot more efficient for them compared to running their own in-house servers. And looking at Amazon's list of customers for AWS, we can see that their customers do include the likes of Netflix, Adobe, Spotify, Coinbase, Disney, Johnson & Johnson, McDonald's and Zillow, just to name a few of the companies that they have as their customers. So a lot of household names here and a lot of some of the biggest companies across the world. So then finally, let's have a look at some of the stocks that could be big winners in this cloud computing space and could get outsized returns compared to the rest of the market. So with the addressable market being so big, essentially touching every corner of the internet, the companies that can remain at the top in the cloud space are likely to be big winners and enjoy big stock appreciation over the years. So looking at the current market leaders right now, as well as the growth rates that they are enjoying at the moment, it would be a relatively safe bet to assume that Amazon, Microsoft and Google will emerge as the big three winners. And not only are these companies the biggest in terms of market share, but they do have a cash flow and R&D budget to continue to improve their service over time, and are such well-respected and reliable brands that many companies who are looking for a third-party cloud provider would probably feel quite comfortable using one of these three companies. There is also Alibaba, which is a significant player in the cloud space, but being a Chinese company, there could be some trust issues and hesitancy for some companies globally to go with Alibaba over one of the big US tech companies that are at the top of the market. I do think that the cloud could well become one of the biggest transformational technology innovations in history, alongside electricity, computers and the internet itself, as it could really change the way that businesses operate on the internet. And with economies of scale, network effects and lock-ins, this all contributes to the fact that we are unlikely to see any more market entrants that are able to take a meaningful share from the currently or from the companies that are currently at the top of the market. And therefore, because of this, the market is likely to remain dominated by just a handful of main companies, making it a oligopoly market. And this potentially allows these companies that are at the top to enjoy oligopoly margins, which will obviously benefit them in terms of their profit. So if Amazon, Microsoft and Google can all enjoy significant market share going forward in a sector that has a total addressable market spanning across the whole internet, as well as enjoying oligopoly margins, then this is a big recipe for success in my opinion, and the market value of these companies could increase drastically from where they are right now, with the cloud as a catalyst for this growth. Now, obviously right now, all of these three companies, the majority of their revenue and profit comes from elsewhere. Obviously, you've got Amazon with their retail and e-commerce industry. You've got Google with their search engine and YouTube, just being the king of advertisements in general. And then you've got Microsoft with their range of different software that they provide, which is generating a large amount of their revenue. So for these three companies, the cloud is not the most dominant portion of their income and their revenue. But I do certainly think that it could, for a lot of these companies, it could actually shift towards that over the next 5 to 10 years, especially with Amazon, who are currently the market leaders. And if they can keep this position as the top dog in the space, then yeah, I could definitely see AWS becoming the biggest revenue and profit generator for Amazon compared to the other aspects of their business. So that is all for today's video, guys. The cloud is certainly an area that I am quite interested in, so I'll probably be making more videos related to the cloud in the future. So if you'd like to see more videos like that, then please be sure to subscribe. Also remember to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Drop me a comment if you have any thoughts of your own about the cloud space. And then finally, this video is for purely entertainment purposes only. It's not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But apart from that, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.